Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. My dear viewers, we continue our journey into investigating the collection of the Quran as has been alleged to take place under the auspices of the Caliph Abu Bakr Radhiyallahu anhu. We have already analyzed some of the criticisms which have arisen on the text of the narrative, and we have begun analyzing the criticisms which have arisen on the isnad of the narrative. And in the previous session, we have looked at some of the aspects on the basis of which authorities have critically evaluated and criticized the isnad of this narrative. In this session also, we will continue with this analysis, and we shall look at some of the other aspects because of which this narrative has become suspect vis-a-vis its isnad or its chain of narration. Now, today we shall look at some of the students of Ibn Shihab Zuhri. If you remember that in the previous episode we had looked and analyzed the personality of Ibn Shihab Zuhri, and in this session we shall see students who narrate from him how they stand, how they critically stand up to the test of criticism. Now, as far as this criticism is concerned, I have already pointed this out, that it is primarily Tamanna Emadi who has raised this criticism, and I shall first summarize what he has to say regarding the narrators which report from Ibn Shihab Zuhri. Now, according to Tamanna Emadi, there are 4 narrators who report from Ibn Shihab Zuhri, or in other words, 4 of his students report this narrative from him. So, one of them is Ibrahim ibn Sa'ad, the other one is Yunus ibn Yazid, then we have Shu'ayb ibn Abi Hamza, and then Abdurrahman ibn Khalid ibn Musafir. So, these are the 4 narrators who report this narrative from Ibn Shihab Zuhri, and Tamanna has posited that all 4 of them, or in the reporting of all 4 of them, in some form or the other, there are flaws. Now, let me start off by saying what Tamanna has said regarding the first of these, who is Ibn Sa'ad, Ibrahim ibn Sa'ad. Regarding Ibrahim ibn Sa'ad, Tamanna, while citing Tehzeeb al-Tehzeeb of Ibn Hajar, he says that Ibrahim ibn Sa'ad was a person who was not reliable vis-a-vis the reports of Zuhri. Now, the words of Tehzeeb al-Tehzeeb are, وقال سأل جزرة حديثه عن الزهري ليس بذاك لأنه كان صغيرا حين سمع من الزهري قال عبد الله بن أحمد ولد سنة 800. So this is what he has said, and it says actually the opinion of Salih Jazra is that his narrations from Ibn Shihab Zuhri are laysa bizak, which of course is an expression which states that they are not as reliable, because he was very young when he heard from Ibn Shihab Zuhri. And Abdullah ibn Ahmad says that he was born in 108 Hijrah. And we know that Ibn Shihab Zuhri died in 124 Hijrah. So therefore he was about 15 or 16 years old at the death of Ibn Shihab Zuhri. Now, let's move on to the next narrator. Tamanna Emadi says that Yunus ibn Yazid narrates munkar narratives, obviously, which means that narratives which report uncommon things. So he says, although he does not cite any reference, Tamanna does not cite any reference, but in all probability he is referring to the following excerpt from, again this is from Tehzeeb al-Tehzeeb of Ibn Hajar. So the words are, this time Abu Zur'a Damashqi says that قال أبو زرعة الدمشقي سمعت أبا عبد الله أحمد بن حنبل يقول في حديث يونس عن الزهري منكرات وقال ميموني الميموني سئل أحمد من أثبت في الزهري قال معمر قيل فيونس قال روى أحاديث منكرة وقال ابن سعد وليس بحجة ربما جاء بالشيء المنكر. So Abu Zur'a al-Damashqi says, I heard Ahmad ibn Hanbal say that the narratives of Yunus from Ibn Shihab Zuhri contained munkarat. And Maimuni said, Ahmad was asked about the most trustworthy student of Ibn Shihab Zuhri. He replied that it is Ma'mar ibn Rashid. So when someone asked about Yunus, he said that he narrates munkar narratives. And Ibn Sa'ad says that he is laysa bi hujja and would narrate what is munkar. So this is what the jarh which is we can found in Tehzeeb al-Tehzeeb vis-a-vis Yunus ibn Yazid. Now, let's move on to the third narrator about which Tamanna has cited his information. Tamanna says that Abdurrahman ibn Khalid ibn Musafir is a person who is munkarul hadith, and he is regarded as trustworthy by Shiite authorities. However, he is not reliable vis-a-vis the Sunni authorities. And here I'd like to point out that Tamanna Imadi does not cite any quotation or any reference from earlier books. He just posits the fact that Abdul Rahman ibn Khalid al-Musafir is a person who is munkarul hadith. We shall see later on how this figures. I'm at the moment just citing what Tamanna Imadi has posited or he has surmised. Now, as far as the fourth of these narrators is concerned, he is Yunus ibn Yazid. And Ibn Shihab says that he is the only trustworthy narrator. Now, the fourth person, Yunus ibn Yazid, he himself is a trustworthy narrator in this list. His full name is Shoaib ibn Abi Hamza, and he was actually a scribe of Ibn Shihab Zuhri. He was something who would write for Ibn Shihab Zuhri. And the only person who reports this narrative of the collection of the Qur'an under Abu Bakr is his student Abul Yaman Hakam ibn Nafi. So the only person who reports from Yunus ibn Yazid is Abul Yaman Hakam ibn Nafi. However, Abul Yaman's narratives from Shoaib ibn Abi Hamza are suspect because it is highly improbable that he ever heard from Shoaib. So Tamanna says that it is extremely improbable that Abul Yaman might have heard from Shoaib ibn Abi Hamza. And the reason he says is that Shoaib died in 162 Hijrah. And Abul Yaman, according to some authorities, including Imam Bukhari, died in 222 Hijrah, which in other words would mean that 60 years separate their deaths. And in the presence of this data, Tamanna says that it's highly improbable that Abul Yaman would have heard from Shoaib. So this is what Tamanna has cited vis-a-vis the information regarding these four narrators who report this narrative of collection of the Quran under Abu Bakr. And these four students narrate their reports from their teacher, Ibn Shihab Zuhri. Now, let me evaluate what Tamanna has just posited. What I've just presented, obviously, is what Tamanna has surmised. First of all, it needs to be understood that Tamanna has faltered in this he has not actually comprehensively stated all the students which report this narrative from Ibn Shihab Zuhri. And in my own evaluation, in my own analysis, I have found that there are not 4 but 8 students of Ibn Shihab Zuhri who report this narrative. However, what can be said in defense of Tamanna maybe is that these 4, the ones that he is cited, are the ones who are found in the 6 canonical collections. But the other 4 that I'm talking about, although they are not found in these 6 canonical connections of hadith, however, they are found in other anthologies. So, as you can see in the chart which is being displayed before you, there are actually 8 students of Ibn Shihab Zuhri who narrate this report. Now, again, let us begin one by one. We have already seen how Ibrahim ibn Sa'd, the way his information had been cited by Tamanna Imadi. Let me add some more critique to this. The fact that Ibrahim ibn Sa'd was very tender in age when he reported from Ibn Shihab Zuhri has already been pointed out, because we know that he was a lad of about 15 or 16 when Zuhri died. So Burhanuddin Sibt ibn al-Ajami, while concluding his biographical note on Ibrahim ibn Sa'd, says, Al-Hasil anna ghayrahu fi Zuhri asbat minhu li'annahu sami'a minhu wa huwa saghir wallahu a'lam. And this means what can be concluded is that other people who narrate from Ibn Shihab Zuhri are more reliable than him because he heard from Ibn Shihab Zuhri when he was young, and God knows best. So this is what we find regarding Ibrahim ibn Sa'd. Another note which needs to be understood here perhaps is what Ibn Adi has recorded in his Al-Kamil fi al-Du'afa. Now his words are, حدثنا زكريا بن يحيى الساجي حدثنا أحمد بن حنبل الحماني قال رأيت إبراهيم بن سعد عند الشريك فقال يا أبا عبد الله معي حديث تحدثني قال أجدني كسلا قال فأقرأها عليك قال ثم تقول ماذا قال حدثني شريك قال إذن تكسب. So this is what has been recorded by Ibn Adi in his Al-Kamil fi al-Du'afa. And the simple translation of this would be that As-Saji reported to us that Al-Himani reported to us, once I saw Ibrahim ibn Sa'd in the company of Sharik ibn Abdullah. Ibrahim said to him, O Abu Abdullah, I have with me your narratives. Will you read them out to me? And Sharik in response replied, I am feeling tired. Ibrahim said, then should I read them out to you? Sharik replied, then in what manner will you report these? In what manner would you tell people that you have heard these? Ibrahim said, Sharik narrated them to me. So at this, Sharik remarked, in that case you would be lying, because this obviously was not the case. So these are the comments that we find regarding Ibrahim ibn Sa'd. So viewers, let's move on to Yunus ibn Yazid. He is the next person about whom Tamanna Madi has cited that he reports munkar narratives. And in this regard, let me add some more information which has been cited by Ibn Abi Hatim in his Al-Jarh wa Ta'dil. And I'm going to read from in between, and I'm going to cite from Muqatil ibn Muhammad. So Muqatil ibn Muhammad, the words are, قال سمعت وقيا يقول لقيت يونس بن يزيد الأيلي وذاكرته بأحاديث الزهري المعروفة وجهدت أن يقيم لي حديثا فما أقامه. Which means that Muqatil ibn Muhammad said, I heard Waqi saying, I met Yunus ibn Yazid al-Ayli and discussed with him well-known narratives of Ibn Shihab Zuhri, and I tried that he should at least report one narrative correctly, but he was not able to. So this is what has been reported regarding Yunus ibn Yazid. Now, another thing that I'd like to point out here is an excerpt from Hafiz Mizzi's Tahzib al-Kamal, and we shall see how Yunus ibn Yazid is further impugned here. So the words here are, قال أبو بكر الأسرم أنكر أبو عبد الله على يونس وقال كان يجي عن سعيد بأشياء ليس من حديث سعيد وضعف أمر يونس وقال لم يكن يعرف الحديث وكان يكتب أرى أول الكتاب فينقطع الكلام فيكون أوله عن سعيد وبعضة عن زهري فيشتبه عليه. قال أبو عبد الله ويونس يروي أحاديث من رأي الزهري يجعلها عن سعيد من رأي الزهري يجعلها عن سعيد. قال أبو عبد الله يونس كثير الخطأ عن الزهري وأقيل أقل خطأ منه. وقال أبو زرع الدمشقي سمعت أبا عبد الله أحمد بن حنبل يقول في حديث يونس بن يزيد منكرات عن الزهري. So here we find Hafiz Mizzi in his Tahzib al-Kamal citing this information regarding Yunus ibn Yazid. A simple translation of this would be that Abu Bakr al-Asram said, Abu Abdullah Ahmad ibn Hanbal objected to Yunus and said, he wrongly attributes things to Sayyid ibn al-Musayyib. And Ahmad ibn Hanbal did not regard him as reliable. Za'afa amra Yunus are the words. And he said, he does not know hadith. Lam yakun yarif al-hadith. And he would write the first part of the book directly from Sayyid and then end the discourse and write other parts from Sayyid on the authority or through the authority of Ibn Shihab Zuhri, and later would not be able to tell which parts were written directly and which parts through Ibn Shihab Zuhri. And Ahmad ibn Hanbal further said, Yunus would report narratives which would contain the view of Ibn Shihab and would attribute this view to Sayyid ibn Musayyib, and said that Yunus makes many errors when he narrates from Ibn Shihab Zuhri, and Uqail would make lesser errors than him. And Abu Zuhra Dimashqi said, I heard Abu Abdullah Ahmad ibn Hanbal say Yunus would narrate munkarat from Ibn Shihab Zuhri. So you can see all in all that in this case how the personality of Yunus ibn Yazid is impugned vis-a-vis his narration, vis-a-vis the fact that he narrates munkar narratives, and the fact that he does not have a sound grasp of things because he attributes things wrongly to people. Now let's move on to Abdurrahman ibn Khalid ibn Musafir, the third narrator from Ibn Shihab Zuhri. And it has already been pointed out that although Tamanna has said that he is a person who is munkarul hadith, but this is not correct. Although he's a person about whom we say, as I said, that As-Saji has said that he is regarded to be a truthful person by authorities, but he narrates manakir. Now, this is recorded by Ibn Hajar in his Tahzib al-Tahzib. Now, I have already pointed this out that to regard someone as munkarul hadith is something very grave, and to say that he narrates manakir is something entirely different. So, Abdurrahman ibn Khalid ibn Musafir is not someone who is munkarul hadith. He is someone who narrates manakir, or who narrates things which are uncommon, which is of course something which is less in category a negative thing than being a munkarul hadith. Now, the fact and the bottom line here is, or the linchpin here is, that it is perhaps not Abdul Rahman ibn Khalid ibn Musafir who has to be considered here. The real thing is that the person who reports this narrative from him is Lays. And from Lays, the person reports is Abdullah ibn Saleh. Now, Abdullah ibn Saleh is a person who is extremely suspect. And I'm now going to read out information regarding Abdullah ibn Saleh and trying to divulge the fact that he is the person about whom we have to remain careful. So, Az-Zahabi in his Mizan al-I'tidal says about Abdullah ibn Saleh, the lahu manakir, that he narrates uncommon things. And then Al-Uqayli records that Abu Abdullah Ahmad ibn Hanbal asked his father about Abdullah ibn Saleh, who replied that initially he was trustworthy, but later he became dubious, and that he is laysa huwa bishay. And at another instance, Abdullah ibn Ahmad says that his father, of course, is Ahmad ibn Hanbal. He mentioned that Abdullah ibn Saleh and then censured him and expressed his disgust at him. The words are zammahu wa karihahu, and said that he narrated a book or narratives from Lays, who narrated them from Ibn Abi Zayd. However, Ahmad denied that Lays narrated anything from Ibn Abi Zayd. Now, let me go on further and cite what Al-Uqayli has recorded in his Al-Zu'afa. Al-Zu'afa al-Kabir obviously is the reference. So Ibn Hibban says that he is Munkarul Hadith in the extreme sense, Munkarul Hadith jiddan, and he would narrate things from trustworthy people which would not sound as theirs. While explaining the reason of this for the existence of manakir in his narratives, Ibn Hibban goes on to say that he had a neighbor who was an evil person, and that is Ibn Hibban, heard Ibn Khuzaymah say that this person would fabricate narratives from Abdullah ibn Saleh. He would write these narratives in a handwriting which would resemble that of Abdullah ibn Saleh, and he would throw these pieces of paper on which it was written in his house among his books. So Abdullah, thinking that it was his handwriting, he would take these pieces and would narrate the narratives written on these pieces of paper. So one can see, viewers, how Abdullah ibn Saleh is regarded to be trustworthy by authorities. So this information has been cited by Ibn Hibban in his Al-Majruhin. Now, according to Nasai, he is laysa bisiqa. In other words, Abdullah ibn Saleh is laysa bisiqa in the opinion of Imam Nasai, which means that he is not reliable. This opinion has been recorded by Imam Nasai in his Al-Zu'afa. Now, Hafiz Mizzi records that when Abdul Mumin ibn Khalaf al-Nasai asked Salih ibn Muhammad about him, he replied that though Yahya ibn Ma'in regards him to be trustworthy, to him, in his own opinion, he lies in hadith. The words are yaksibu fil hadith. In the opinion of Ahmad ibn Saleh, he is muttahimun laysa bishay, which again is a very strong word of impugnment vis-a-vis Abdullah ibn Saleh. And then we move forward and we find that Hafiz Zahabi has recorded in his Mizan al-I'tidal that Ali ibn Madini said that he had not narrated anything from Abdullah ibn Saleh. Now, obviously, when Ali ibn Madini says that he has not narrated anything from Abdullah ibn Saleh, this means something, that he has not considered him to be reliable enough to narrate from him. Now, Ibn Hajar, in his Taqrib al-Tahzib, he says that he is Sadukun Kasir al-Ghalat, and is reliable when he narrates from his book, and is forgetful as well. So he is only reliable when he narrates from his book, otherwise he is forgetful, and he's Kasir al-Ghalat, he makes a lot of mistakes. So this is the information regarding Abdullah ibn Saleh, and we know that he is the person who figures in the chain of Abdul Rahman ibn Khalid ibn Musafir. So let us move on to the fourth narrator, about whom Tamanna Ahmadi has said that he is the fourth student of Ibn Shihab Zuhri. About him, the fact is that although he himself is a sound narrator, but the person who reports from him is Abul Yaman Hakam ibn Nafi, and Tamanna, as we will recall, had said that it is highly improbable that he would have heard from his teacher, because 60 years separate their deaths. And the information that we want to come for face to face with now also, to a great extent, corroborates what Tamanna had earlier said. Now, in this regard, let me just narrate to you before I go ahead what Ahmad ibn Hanbal has, or in other words, what Hafiz Mizzi has recorded in his Tahzib al-Kamal. And Hafiz Mizzi, while recording this information in his Tahzib al-Kamal, writes وقال محمد بن جعفر الراشدي عن أبي بكر الأسرم سمعت أبا عبد الله وسئل عن أبي اليمان وكان الذي سأله عنه قد سمع منه فقال له أي شيء تنبش على نفسك ثم قال أبو عبد الله هو يقول أخبرنا شعيب واستحل ذلك بشيء عجيب. قال أبو عبد الله كان عمرو شعيب في الحديث عسرا جدا وكان علي بن عياش سمع منه وذكر قصة لأهل حمص أراها أنهم سألوه أن يأذن لهم أن يرووه عنه فقال لهم لا ترووه هذه الأحاديث عني. قال أبو عبد الله ثم كلموه وحذر ذلك أبو اليمان فقال لهم ارووا تلك الأحاديث عني. قلت لأبي عبد الله مناولة؟ فقال لو كان مناولة كان لم يعطهم كتبا ولا شيئا إنما سمع هذا فقط. فقال ابن شعيب يقول إن أبا اليمان جاءني فأخذ كتب شعيب مني بعد وهو يقول أخبرنا فكأنه استحل ذلك بأن سمع شعيبا يقول لقوم ارووه عني. I'll just translate this slightly difficult passage for you because it sheds light on how Abu Yaman Hakam ibn Nafi perhaps has not even heard from Shu'aib ibn Abi Hamza. Now this excerpt, as I said, is from Tehzib al-Kamal of Hafiz Mizzi. So Muhammad ibn Ja'far al-Rashidi reports from Abu Bakr al-Asram, I heard Abu Abdullah Ahmad ibn Hanbal and he had been asked about Abu Yaman, and he who had been asked about him, about Abu Yaman, had also heard from Abu Yaman. In response to the question, what is that digs at your soul? Abu Abdullah remarked, he, Abu Yaman, would say, Shu'aib has informed us, and would justify this statement in a strange manner. Abu Abdullah continued, Shu'aib was very strict in matters of hadith, and Ali ibn Ayyash has heard from him and mentioned an incident with the people of Hims, which I believe is that they asked Shu'aib to permit them to narrate from him. He told them, do not narrate these ahadith from me. Abu Abdullah continued, then they conversed with him, and Abu Yaman was present at that time. Shu'aib then told them, you can now narrate these ahadith from me. Now I asked Abu Abdullah, was this of the nature of munawala? He replied, had it been munawala, he would have given them his books, but he did not give these or anything else. And Abu Yaman only heard these words, you can now narrate these ahadith from me. And Shu'aib's son used to say, Abu Yaman came to me and took Shu'aib's books from me later on and would say, he informed me, akhbarana. So obviously this is a blatant lie. And it seems that in this matter, he has justified himself in saying it because he had heard Shu'aib say to the people, irvuhu anni, narrate them from me. So one can easily see how it is virtually impossible that Abu Yaman would have heard from Shu'aib ibn Abi Hamza. It is also evident that he did not even hear from Shu'aib's son, who had heard from Shu'aib, because even Abu Yaman's own version supports Ibn Shu'aib's statement referred to above. And the statement is, وقال أبو زرع الدمشقي أن أبي اليمان كان شعيب ابن أبي حمزة عاصرا في الحديث فدخلنا عليه حين حضرت الوفاة فقال هذه كتبي وقد صححتها فمن أراد أن يأخذها فليأخذها ومن أراد أن يعرض فليعرض ومن أراد أن يسمعها من ابني فليسمعها فإنه قد سمعها مني. So this is again something from Hafiz Mizzi's Tehzib al-Kamal. So Abu Zur'a al-Dimashqi narrates from Abu Yaman, Shu'aib ibn Abi Hamza was very strict in matters of hadith. We came to him when he was dying. At his deathbed they came to him. He said, these are my books and I have corrected them. He who wants to take them can take them, and he who wants to read them to me, can do so. And he wants to hear them from my son can do so, because my son has heard them from me. So all in all, viewers, we can clearly see that in this regard, Abu Yaman it's very unlikely that he would actually have heard from Shu'aib ibn Abi Hamza. So this is the story which we conclude regarding the fourth of these narrators. Now, remember, as I had pointed out earlier, that there are four more narrators who report this narrative. And Tamanna has erred in this regard. He has erroneously concluded that there are just four narrators. Actually, there are 8 of them. And the other 4, let me point out who they are and how their narratives or where their narratives can be found. So the first of these 4 are Ma'mar ibn Rashid, and his narrative is recorded by Abu Ubaid in his Fazail al-Qur'an. And then we have another person who is Ibrahim ibn Ismail, and his narrative is recorded in the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shayba, and obviously he is the person who records his narrative. Then the third of these is Sufyan ibn Uyayna, and Sufyan ibn Uyayna, his narrative is recorded by Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal in his Fazail al-Sahaba. So we can see that this is the third person which Tamanna Madi has missed out. And the fourth of these is Ubaidullah ibn Abi Ziyad. Now, Darqutni, without stating the narrative, has mentioned that Ubaidullah ibn Abi Ziyad has reported this narrative from Az-Zuhri. So this has been recorded by Darqutni in his Al-Ilal Al-Warida fil Ahadith Al-Nabawiyya. So these are the four narrators which, besides the ones which Tamanna has pointed out, besides the four previous ones which we have just discussed, these are four additional narrators which also report this narrative from Ibn Shihab Zuhri. Now, viewers, you can see from the chart which is being displayed before you how all these 8 narrators can be summed up comprehensively. And in this comprehensive chart, we find that these are 8 of these people, 8 narrators or 8 students of Ibn Shihab Zuhri who report this narrative. Now, let me analyze each of these 4 additional narrators which I have just pointed out. As you can see, the 4 previous ones have already been impugned. We have already seen the jar which is recorded in various hadith books vis-a-vis their personalities or the chain of narration in which they are found. Now we'll go ahead to these 4 additional narrators about whom I have it has come to my knowledge, and I have searched and found out that there are these 4 more narrators as well who are the students of Ibn Shihab Zuhri. So, as far as Ma'mar ibn Rashid is concerned, his narrative is recorded by Ibn al-Jawzi in his Al-Muntazam, and the person who is extremely unreliable in this narrative is Al-Waqidi. Now, Al-Waqidi is found in the narrative of Ma'mar. Although Ma'mar himself is someone who is reliable, but Ma'mar's narrative is also reported. Ma'mar's narrative is reported by obviously Al-Waqidi is found in his chain, and then another chain of narration in which this narrative is reported by Lays, and from Lays it is reported by Abdullah ibn Saleh. And as far as Abdullah ibn Saleh is concerned, I have already read out the Jarrah on him. But now I'm going to read out the Jarrah on Waqidi, because he is also found in the chain of narration which originates from Ma'mar ibn Rashid. So, regarding Al-Waqidi, we found that Al-Bukhari says that he is matruk al-hadith. Now, a person who is matruk al-hadith is a person who lies, who is a liar. So, therefore, his narratives are regarded to be matruk. They have to be abandoned. So, Waqidi is a person who is matruk al-hadith. Nisai also says that he is matruk al-hadith. Ibn Hajar also says that he is matruk. And Al-Mizzi records that in the opinion of Imam Muslim, he is matruk al-hadith. So viewers, we can see so many authorities regarding to be matruk al-hadith, a person who lies in matters of hadith, which obviously has made him a person who has to be abandoned. And Abu Ahmad al-Hakim says that he is zahib al-hadith. And Ishaq ibn Rahawayh also regards him to be a forger of hadith. And he is a person who yada al-hadith, who is a person who forges, who concocts, who fabricates narratives. Ibn Hibban records that Ahmad has declared him to be a liar, and that Yahya ibn Ma'in regards him to be laysa bishai, and that Ali ibn Abi al-Madini says that he would forge narratives, he would concoct, he would fabricate narratives. Az-Zahabi records that in the opinion of Al-Darqutni, fihi zurf, and that Ibn Adi says that his narratives are not safe. Now, we can see that Ma'mar ibn Rashid, although he himself is trustworthy, but the person who narrates from him, the 2 chains that come out from him, one of them has Abdullah ibn Saleh, about whom we have just seen how his personality is suspect, and the other is Al-Waqidi. Now let's move on to Ibrahim ibn Ismail. Regarding Ibrahim ibn Ismail, we see that he is also a very weak narrator. So Imam Bukhari records that he falters a lot in narrating from Ibn Shihab Zuhri. And the words are Kasir al-Waham an Zuhri. And according to Zahabi, Nasai has regarded him to be weak. Za'afahu Nasai, and this has been recorded by Zahabi in his Mizan al-I'tidal. Now, Ibn Hibban records that Abu Huzura heard Abu Nu'aym say that Ibrahim ibn Ismail's narratives are not worth 2 pennies. And Al-Mizzi records, this opinion of has been recorded in Al-Jarh wa Ta'dil. Hafiz Mizzi records that according to Ibn Abi Hatim, he falters a lot. Kasirul Waham. He is laysa bil qawi and yuktabu hadithu wa la yuhtajju bihi. And Ibn Hibban says that he alters the chains of narration and he would turn mursal narratives into marfu ones. And the words are yukallibul asanid wa yarfa'ul marasil. This has been recorded by Ibn Hibban in his Al-Majruhin. Now, Ibn Hajar says that he is Za'if in his Taqrib al-Tahzib, and he also records that Al-Hakim Abu Ahmad says that he is regarded as Laysa bil Mateen by authorities, and that according to Abu Dawud, he is Za'if and Matruk al-Hadith. This has been recorded by Ibn Hajar in his Tahzib al-Tahzib. Now, the third narrator in this regard, the third additional one, is Sufyan ibn Uyayna. And Sufyan is well known for his tadlis, and we've already seen in this last session what tadlis is. And he is regarded to be among the Mudallisin by Ibn Hajar in his Tabaqat al-Mudallisin. Two people now narrate from Sufyan ibn Uyayna. Now, one of them is Ibrahim ibn Bashar al-Ramadi, and the other one is Abbas ibn Muhammad al-Abdus. According to Nisai, Ibrahim ibn Bashar al-Ramadi is Laysa bil Qawi. This is recorded by Nisai in his Az-Zurafa. And according to Bukhari, he would keep faltering. Yahimu fi shay ba'da shay. So this is recorded by Al-Bukhari in his Tarikh al-Kabir. And Az-Zahabi's opinion about him is Laysa bil Mateen. This has been recorded by Zahabi in his Mizan al-I'tidal. He says Laysa bil Mutqin wa lahu manakir. That he is not reliable and that he cites things which are uncommon. Okay. Al-Mizzi has already also records that Abdullah ibn Ahmad ibn Hanbal heard from his father Ahmad ibn Hanbal that Ibrahim and he would go to Sufyan ibn Uyayna, and later Ibrahim would dictate to people what he had heard from Sufyan, and at times he would dictate to them what he had not heard from him. He would dictate to them what he had not heard from him, and one day Ahmad ibn Hanbal actually scolded him and censured him for dictating to others what he had not heard. Muawiyah ibn Salih says that when he asked Yahya ibn Ma'in about him, he remarked that he is laysa bishay, and he would not write anything from Sufyan, and that he had never seen a pen in his hand, and he would dictate to people from Sufyan what Sufyan never said. So this is what Hafiz Mizzi has recorded in his Tahzib al-Kamal. Now, on the other hand, Abbas ibn Muhammad al-Abdus, who also narrates from Sufyan ibn Uyayna, he is a majhul person. No one mentions Al-Abdus as a student of Sufyan ibn Uyayna. So he's virtually an unknown person. And for this, we can look up various authorities like, for example, Tahzib al-Kamal. We can see Tazkirat al-Hufaz, Tahzib al-Tahzib, Tarikh al-Baghdad. None of them record no one mentions him to be a student of Sufyan ibn Uyayna. Also, we have no Jar or Ta'dil available on Dawud ibn Sulaiman ibn Sabit, who is the teacher of Aslam ibn Sahal al-Wasiti and the pupil of Abdus. So, let's come to the fourth and final narrator in this regard, and he is Ubaidullah ibn Abi Ziyad. We have just seen how Sufyan ibn Uyayna and people who narrate from him are impugned. Now we move on to Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. Now, about Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, Al-Mizzi records that in the opinion of Zuhli, Ubaidullah ibn Abi Ziyad and Ishaq ibn Yahya al-Ausi are majhulul ain students of Ibn Shihab Zuhri. The only person to report Ibn Shihab's narratives from Ubaidullah is his grandson Al-Hajjaj ibn Mani. We know a majhulul ain is a person from whom only one person narrates. So this is what has been said regarding Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. So viewers, we can sum up by saying that all these 8 narrators which report this narrative from Ibn Shihab Zuhri, either they themselves are unreliable or people who report from them are unreliable. All in all, we can summarize and say that all these 8 chains of narrations which emerge from Ibn Shihab Zuhri have some flaw or the other. So we now come to the end of this discussion regarding the criticism on the chain of narration of this narrative, and we have seen clearly that this narrative is munqata, is highly probable that it is munqata. We have also seen how Ubaid ibn Sabbaq has been regarded as a person who is not very well known. We've also seen the personality of Ibn Shihab Zuhri. We have seen the other side of Ibn Shihab Zuhri and seen how his personality is afflicted by blemishes like irsal, tadlis, idraj, and also reporting various discrepancies. And finally, we have seen 8 students of Ibn Shihab Zuhri who report this narrative, and we have seen that none of these 8 chains is reliable. So we can safely say that this isnad analysis, or this critical analysis of this whole collection scenario, as has been depicted in Bukhari, as has been found in all other narratives, does not stand up to the tools of historical criticism, and this criticism on its isnad is actually something which really nullifies this narrative. We have already impugned this narrative, we have already critically evaluated the criticism on the matan, which is obviously the foremost. But in the presence of this matan criticism, this additional criticism on the isnad also further weakens the case of this narrative. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات.